All right, guys, welcome. We have a 10-game slate here on Monday. So again, in this live stream, it'll be Q&A style. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. Just make sure to leave them in the chat. Hope you guys had a good night. Last night, for me, it went really well and a lot of Patreon members. A lot of big nights. Hoping to keep that going for this 10-game slate. And there's a lot of news up in the air. We have some guys that might be coming back. A guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, for example, might be playing tonight, even though it's not technically on the injury report. So we'll just go over the news that we have so far. We did get that news. Again, those Houston guys are suspended one game, so we don't have to worry about that situation with whether or not they're going to play normal minutes. But yeah, so let's see. Let's go scroll down to some important stuff here. So yeah, Cat looks like he might be back here. He was listed as out on the injury report, but looks like he might be cleared to play. So that's pretty significant, right? Because definitely going to take Nazir Reid out of play. Cam Reddish is now questionable. I still haven't seen confirmation of those other Atlanta Hawks guys. So that's pretty significant. Now we got news that PJ Tucker could play. Also got news that Max Struss is no longer on the COVID list, so he could play. So the Heat are going to be less shorthanded. Yeah, should be a fun one. Here's like the main news: Ingram, Middleton, Aldridge, Gordon, Batum, Thibault all questionable. Draymond expected to play. Nurkic doubtful. But again, we have a couple guys that could play, a couple guys that might not play. Kevin Porter Jr. suspended. Christian Wood suspended again, so we don't really have to worry about that. We got news Lonzo's in. We got news that Jonas Valanciunas is in as well. So should be a fun one here. Also, tricky part about the Karl-Anthony Towns stuff is that is a late game. So, we might not get news for that until after the game start. So that's something you have to keep in mind. But yeah, let's get to some questions, guys. Again, make sure if you guys do enjoy these free live streams, just to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Again, getting close to 11,000 on YouTube, and hit the notification bell just so you know when I do upload and go live. All right, so yeah, guys, leave some questions in the chat. Let's do it. Let's see. So as of right now, you have Beal, Simons, Powell, Tice, Gafford, Edwards, Reed, and Bain. Yeah, again, just keep an eye on the Cat stuff, right? That's going to be pretty big. Gafford, I will mention last game, he did not close for some reason, only played 20 minutes, so I got to have that in the back of your mind as well. But love the spot there against Charlotte. Coach, what's up, man? Yeah, let's get it. They closed with Anthony Gill for some reason. No idea why. Now, Anthony Gill is out. But yeah, they closed them. He played 25 minutes. I have no idea why they would close with Anthony Gill, who should not be in an NBA roster, over Daniel Gafford. And it wasn't like Gafford was playing bad or in foul trouble, right? Which a lot of the times he's in foul trouble. He had 3 fouls, 20 minutes, 9 of 10 shooting, 19 points, 8 boards. So yeah, that's a big question mark for me. But if Gafford goes back to his 32, 35 minutes, I think he could smash. That's a good question. I can't say for sure. I mean, normally he had been, but last game was an outlier, I think. Gafford did not close, though. That's where, yeah. I think he picked up 2 fouls maybe in the first quarter. Wasn't in severe foul trouble. But yeah, he played his third quarter shift and then did not touch the court in the fourth quarter. So keep an eye on Luka news. Last game, he was at a minutes limit. So that's going to be pretty important for over-under 7 assists. If he's limited again, probably a push. If there's no limitations, then yeah, probably like the over there. Tyson the down matchup. Well, I mean, who else is going to play minutes for Houston? Who's going to defend and beat, right? They don't have anyone. So Daniel Tice might have to play 30 minutes tonight. Again, they have an undersized KJ Martin and an undersized Usman Garuba. I think Tice might push for the 30-plus minutes tonight. And they have Alize Johnson. There's no guarantee. I would think he goes back to those minutes, but yeah, no guarantee there. Embiid should destroy the Rockets. Daniel Tice actually is like an okay he's a better defender than Christian Wood. So actually, it would have been probably a little bit better if Christian Wood is playing for Embiid. Like Christian Wood's not a good defender. Daniel Tice, not like known for like a top defender, but he's a solid defender. So yeah. Do you think both teams could play small ball? Which teams? Houston value. Keep an eye on the starting lineup. I think Daniel Tice looks like the safest spot. Again, they could go a couple different ways with their starting lineup. So I'm guessing Green, Tate, Daniel Tice all start. And then the other two spots, again, depending on Eric Gordon. If Eric Gordon's out, probably Garrison Matthews moves in. Probably David Nwaba too. So starting lineup most likely would be Tate, Green at the point, Matthews at the 2, Tate, Nwaba, and then Tice. I would think that's what they end up starting. Yeah, so Christopher would be in play there. I'm not sure if he would start, but probably see at least 20 minutes from him. Production's been a little bit up and down for him, but he is only 3.6K. So, yeah, I think he's in consideration for value for sure. Yeah, Klebo for value. So they said he was on a minutes limit last game. He played like 20, low 20s, right? 24 minutes. Now, we do have Porzingis out, so if there's no limitations on Maxi Kleber here, I think he's a good value. So, again, keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on Luka Doncic. It is a back-to-back, too, but we'll see if they end up limiting their minutes at all. No real take on either of those. Charlotte and Washington, do you think they could play small ball, so no Gafford? Yeah, I think both teams could go small, right? Charlotte, they can definitely go small ball. I don't think they want to play Mason Plumlee massive minutes, so yeah, it's possible for sure. Harden, LaMelo, KCP, Tice, Vanderbilt, DSJ, Jay-Sean Tate, Naz Reid. So again, there's a chance Karl-Anthony Towns might be back, so that's going to be pretty significant there. As far as Kentavious Caldwell-Pope goes, I have a feeling he's going to be popular tonight. That's chalk I'm fine getting away from. Like, sure, he's probably going to play low to mid 30s minutes, but he's also 5K. So, he still has a low floor if he's not knocking down his shots. Yeah, I mean, I think Green and Tate will probably be two of the highest usage guys there on offense. So, if Houston wants to keep the game competitive, you're probably going to see a pretty big game from either of those two. Yeah, so keep an eye on Cat, right? If Cat is in, then Edwards does not really stand out. If Cat is out, then I think Edwards is a good play. Played 38 minutes last game, will be their highest usage player. So it depends on Cat. Kleber or Ibaka. I think both are pretty good values. I mean, Ibaka, you're not going to get big minutes from him, but he most likely starts and plays around 20. And he's a pretty good point per minute guy, so I think he's a pretty safe value. But yeah, if there's no limitations on Kleber, I think he makes for good value too. Morris or Gafford's a good question. I think the slightly safer play is Morris, based on what we saw last game with Washington willing to close small. Been pissing you off. I mean, here's the thing. You're not going to get, I don't think Ibaka really wins you a GPP, but he's a relatively safe value. Probably going to play around 20 minutes. Probably going to get you low 20s fancy points, which is fine at that price. So I wouldn't expect a massive game from Ibaka. I don't think they want to play him 30-plus minutes, but I think he's a relatively safe play. They can go a ton of different ways. Depends on what Charlotte does. So yeah, they can go a ton of different ways there. Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns might be back. So that's pretty big. Also, it's the late game, which makes it a little bit tough. But yeah, there's news that there's a chance he might return here, which would definitely throw a wrench into things, right? Obviously, wouldn't like Ant-Man as much. Wouldn't really like the Minnesota Bigs as much. So big news for sure. Guys, if you're just coming in again, make sure to hit that like button. We're at about 70 concurrent viewers, 20 likes. And if you do enjoy these Q&A live streams, just make sure to hit that like button. It really does help me out. If you want more in-depth content, private live streams telling you guys exactly what I'm doing, going very in-depth, telling you guys my favorite tournament plays. That's over on patreon.com. More info down below. Let's see. No, yeah, well, he was listed as out, but you got to take a look at Underdog. So Kat actually tweeted this GIF, and yeah, so listed as out, but he could be cleared to play. Looks like from that GIF that he is back. So again, just monitor the status there, but pretty sure he's going to be available. Kleber and Nwaba depends on if Kleber's on a limit. Kleba on a limit, go Nwaba. No limit for Kleba, Kleba. You're at 7 or Gafford? It's a good question because I'm a little bit nervous about minutes for both. Gafford because he didn't close last game, and you're at 7 going up against a small ball Golden State team with PJ Tucker possibly back, right? So they can definitely, like, now Miami has the ability to go small if PJ Tucker is in fact back, right? They can definitely go small ball, and they also have, I believe, Max Struss. Where's Struss? I think Max Struss is possibly available too. So if PJ Tucker is in, I'm worried about your 7's minutes here. He's been phenomenal. Does he play low 30s minutes against Golden State? I don't think so. I think if PJ Tucker plays, we probably get low to mid 20s minutes from here at 7. So a little bit worried about both minutes there. Optimizing for no, I only play one lineup. I play one lineup every night. So not the right person to ask. Showdown video, yep. NFL Showdown video up on patreon.com. We had a really good day in NFL yesterday. Had someone win over $11,000 in the main slate. Showdown went really well for us. Who would you stack in Memphis and Brooklyn? Probably John Morant with one of the Brooklyn stars. So I'm going to do that stack. Towns and Dams for Russell are no longer in COVID protocols. The team say, however, both players listed out for Monday's game as they ramp back their conditioning. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. I still think there's a chance he ends up playing, but yeah. Marquise Chris at the Flatman, not for me. Simon's a must play. Assuming no limitations and he starts, I think he's a great value. Conley, Barton, and Morris. Morris. Simons looks good. Yeah, Portland's really shorthanded. Most likely starts at the point. Most likely plays mid-30s minutes, as long as there's no limitations. Yeah, I think Tice looks straight. I think KJ Martin probably has to play a decent amount too. He's an undersized 5'4", 5", but like they have no one else, like no other big body. So if Tice gets in foul trouble, it's going to be KJ Martin coming in for him. So yeah, I think both look good. I just think with KJ Martin at 4'5", I think Tice looks a little bit better point per dollar. But yeah, I mean, both guys probably get pretty significant run here against a big Philadelphia team. Morris Spears emergency. He's going to play. Yeah, that was a rest day for him. So dealing with Now's Reed, thoughts on how we pivot late game if Cat's back. We have a couple late games here that look pretty appealing, right? You have Atlanta, Portland, Minnesota, and Clippers. So I would just say have a backup plan, right? If you have Naz Reed in your lineup, and Karl-Anthony Towns ends up getting rolled in, just make sure you have a backup plan with these later games, right? So be willing to make like a 2v2 swap there or something. Like, I can't tell you what your lineup looks like, so like it's hard to say, but like just have a backup plan there if Karl-Anthony Towns ends up getting rolled in. That would be my advice. Would you stack Beal, Kuz, and Daniel in a I mean, I like them all. I think the riskiest is Gafford based on what we saw with his minutes last game. But yeah, if I'm playing more than one guy from Washington, I'm probably just going to game stack the game. So like I would probably play, a couple of Washington guys and bring it back with like LaMelo Ball, for example. I would probably just, put my chips all in that game. Green, Tate, or Gordon, if in, depends on what they do the starting lineup. Like if Jalen Green starts the point guard, probably like him the most if he starts the point. But they could go a couple different ways with the starting lineup. So I'm going to wait to see what they end up doing. All right, let's see. Do we have any other updates? Do we have any other players possibly coming back and tweeting us GIFs that, they may or may not play? Let's see. God, Valentine is getting tossed around by all his teams, and then he eventually just gets waived. Tough. You hate to see it. You hate to see it for him. Guys, we're at 100 concurrent viewers. Again, if you guys do enjoy the content, just make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Daily DFS content plus live streams. Really appreciate the support. I'm going to go balance with Ant-Man and Cat out. I'm going to go balance with Ant-Man and Cat out, but feel like Jokic, Beal, Houston Scrubs now. I mean, I think both options look pretty good. You think Danny Green? You think Draymond Green for cash or GPP? I'm not a big fan of anyone on Golden State, to be honest. I mean, Draymond's price, he feels right, 7.5. So I wouldn't go there in cash games, I guess tournaments. But yeah, it's no one really stands out there for me for Golden State because you have a lot of guys priced up from when Golden State was more shorthanded, and now everyone's back. Plus, you got to factor in Miami is one of the tougher matchups. Not a lot that stands out there. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at these Vegas odds. What do we got for totals tonight? So, yeah, no real surprise here. The Hornets-Wizards game's a 232.5 over under. That game has a lot of upside, in my opinion. Just like the Rockets 76ers, again, this game does have some blowout risk. 14-point spread. Let's see. The Nets Grizzlies game also a relatively high total, 228.5. The Pistons Bucks, another game that has some blowout risk. I do think it lowers the ownership of a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, which I think makes him a pretty good tournament play if the Pistons can somehow keep the game competitive. And I'm a little bit surprised about this. Golden State being 11-point favorites. Miami's been pretty solid, even with a very shorthanded team. Possibly getting PJ Tucker back. So a core of like Jimmy Butler, Lowry, Hero, PJ Tucker. I think Miami can cover that spread against Golden State. And then yeah, the Clippers are 2.5-point favorites. Like if Cat was playing, might be closer to that even mark. So, yeah, interesting one. Again, you do have a couple games here that have some blowout risk. I think Utah could possibly blow out the Pelicans too, even though the Pelicans have been playing well. That's the 228 over under. Trae Young. So we're still waiting on the status of a couple of those other Hawks. Where are the Hawks? Right, so we got news that Reddish is questionable. Bogdanovich out, but guys like DeLon Wright, not on the injury report. Herder, Gallinari, just make sure these guys are playing, right? Yeah, they're not in the injury report, but like, are they going to play due to conditioning? Like some of these guys have been out for a couple of weeks, so just confirm that. Like if they're all in, then Trae doesn't look as good. If they're all out again and the Hawks are going to run like an 8-man rotation, then I think Trae Young makes a pretty good tournament play because it's a great spot here and he probably plays about 40 minutes. So, but yeah, if like Herder plays, if Gallinari plays, if DeLon Wright plays, like that's more bodies that can actually score the ball. Like last game, it was literally just like Trae Young and Lou Williams putting up shots, like no one else. So, I think that is pretty significant if you're going to target Trae. Marcus Morris, Nance, or Reddish? Let's see. Marcus Morris, Nance, or Reddish? Marcus Morris for me. Over 9.5. I mean, if all those guys are continuing to be out, I think he does hit that over. Morant. I mean, I always like Ja, right? It's an up-tempo game, and he seems to come alive in the big game. So I think Ja looks good. Winslow, sneaky value? Yeah, I don't think he'll be super popular, but he's been playing some small ball 5. He's 4K, 18, 26 minutes. Now, again, if Karl-Anthony Towns ends up playing, you might have a situation where Ibaka might have to play more. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people get to Winslow. 25 fantasy points last couple games. There is some risk. There's definitely some risk. I don't think there's any guarantee in him continuing to play those type of minutes. But yeah, I think he's worth a look to get different. Stack Charlotte Washington game, possibly Rozier run back. Yeah, I mean, that looks fine to me. I think that game has one of my favorite games to stack, right? It's highest total. Charlotte plays 0 defense. Like I love targeting Charlotte. Debo, what's up, man? DJJ, Tice, Nwaba, Ibaka, or Kleba. So just pick one of those guys. I will say Tice at the moment. I mean, I think Papa's pretty safe. I don't think he's going to kill you. Last game, he did have a little bit of upside. He went for 37 fantasy points. I think more often than not, he's probably going to hover around 30, which at 5.2K makes him a little bit too cheap. So revenge game narrative, probably gets low 30s minutes. Again, if Karl-Anthony Towns plays, though, that is a high usage guy back in this offense. But yeah, I think he's a pretty safe play. Like even if Cat comes back, I still think Beverly's solid. I don't know if he has the upside to win you a GPP, but I don't think he's going to kill you either. I would not play Mundo, no. I would not play Weston Mundo. Small forward, sure. Let's see. So top end for small forward. I don't know if there's one player that really stands out to me. I think if I had to go to someone at the top, probably Jimmy Butler against Golden State. He had a really bad game last game, but I'm not super worried about it. He's a guy that's going to play 35 to 38 minutes and a guy that obviously can do kind of everything. Golden State, even though they're good defensively, they play at a much faster pace. So I think Jimmy, probably the guy I'm looking to there at the top. Let's see. Mid-range, again, Ant-Man, it depends on Cat. If Cat's out, I think Ant-Man looks pretty solid, even though he really hurt me last game. Josh Hart, keep an eye on Ingram. If Ingram can't go, I think Josh Hart's kind of a sneaky play in tournaments just because, like, he's been dominant. And, yeah, the Utah, not necessarily the best matchup, but, like, if you're just looking at the box scores, I mean, he's been phenomenal. So, if there's no Ingram, I think Josh Hart makes for a good GPP play there in the mid-range. Morris obviously then gets some ownership. Talked about him a bit. On the cheaper end for small forward, let's see. Martin kind of depends on the stats of PJ Tucker. If PJ Tucker's in, I'm worried about the minutes for guys like Martin and Yurtseven a bit. Again, KCP I think gets a lot of ownership. He's fine, but in my opinion, he probably goes over-owned. Denny, again, fine, but like pretty score independent. You have Terrence Ross that had a really big game last game. I think he's a solid GBP play. Played 30 minutes in regulation. I think he makes for, again, a good tournament play. Might go a little bit over-owned, though, based on that last game. And then, you have Matthews that if he ends up starting would be a solid value. Sub 4K, Nwaba I think is fine. Christopher I think is fine. Those two should play pretty decent minutes with the Rockets being shorthanded. Spend ups. Yeah, I mean, you have Beal, John, Jokic. I like all three of those guys. I think they all three look good. They're definitely up there for me. So, Gantry, do you have any advice to move in the top 1%? Yeah. Don't play too chalky of a lineup. So, I mean, my normal strategy is I'm playing a decent amount of chalk, but I'm going to some pivots. I think, the field has gotten to the point where the good plays are definitely getting ownership, and they're actually being over-owned in single-entry tournaments. So if you can find a couple really good pivots that are going to come in at like a fraction of the ownership, maybe look slightly suboptimal, I think that's when you're going to be really successful in single-entry tournaments, because now I think it's a really good time to be a single-entry tournament player, right? Because ownership is so condensed. Everyone's on the same guys. You can take like one or two risks and you're going to have a different lineup. So I like it a lot, the way it's playing out this year. It's different than previous years. Like previous years, it was almost the point where, the good plays would mostly be under-owned, but now they're actually being over-owned, in my opinion. So like the optimal plays in large field tournaments, I think, are being over-owned. I think you just got to find a way to identify those pivots, identify those low-owned guys, and I think you have a good shot to get in the top 1%. I don't think Mario Chalmers plays. Nasir Little, I don't know what's been going on with those minutes. If he goes back to his low 30s minutes, I do think he's a good value. But minutes have been a little bit discouraging recently. You also have Covington back too. Wait, Kyrie's not playing till Wednesday, right? Unless I read that wrong. Yeah, because they're playing at home. Make his debut Wednesday, so he's not playing tonight. He can't play at home. Tyus Jones, Beal, Ross, Morris. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Harden, Ross, Morris, Tate, Gafford, Chaco, Tyze, Ibaka seems fun. I agree, that does seem fun. If I had to pick one way or the other, I would lean the over on Beal because he's playing the point guard. It's an up-tempo game. Yeah. Again, yeah. Kyrie is out tonight. He's playing Wednesday. Tough to fit Jokic in. I think you can get him in. I don't necessarily think you have to go there. There's other spend-up options that look pretty good, but yeah, Jokic is always going to be the safest play on the board. Safe spend-up, at least. Little, KJ Martin, Herb Jones. Yeah, it's a good question. I think if Little goes back to his 30-ish, 30 to 35 minutes, it's going to be Little for me. But last couple games have been a little bit discouraging for his minutes. Maxey and Thibault out? Well, yeah, that definitely changes some things. Let's see. Are they in the COVID protocols? Is that why? Yep, both in the COVID protocols. Okay, so yeah, that's gonna change up things here for Philadelphia. Let's see. Let's go over to Philly. So yeah, no Maxey and no Thibault. Both are playing big minutes. Maxey and Thibault both playing mid 30s mid 30s minutes. So those minutes have to go somewhere, right? So we already know Embiid, Tobias, and Seth Curry. They're going to play like 35 minutes each, right? So their roles doesn't affect them. Drummond doesn't affect him either. He's just going to play the backup five. Danny Green, I'm not sure. I don't think he's available. I'm pretty sure he's still out. So yeah, Shake Milton most likely starts now at the point. Assuming that is the case, I mean, I think he looks really solid. And then with Thibault out now too, I think we have Korkmaz and Niang that both look pretty good. Because Thibault's playing like 35 minutes a game. 37 and 39 last couple of games. And then Tyrese Maxey was playing, mid 30s minutes. So that's a lot of minutes to go around. So I think Shake, I think Niang, and I think Korkmaz now all look pretty good for value. We'll see what they do the starting lineup. Whoever starts, I'm going to feel the most confident in. But I'm guessing two of the three of Milton, Niang, and Korkmaz end up starting alongside Curry, Harrison, and Embiid. So yeah, that definitely changes things. Definitely changes things for Philly. Also, it's a good matchup against Houston too. So yeah. With Maxey and Thibault out, the Philly-Houston game looks a little more competitive. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Maxey and Thibault being out really moves the spread too much. I mean, they're both good players, but like, if you had Tobias Harris ruled out, then I think that's a little bit of a different story. Maxey and Thibault being out, I'm not sure if it moves the spread too much. I think Naz Reid looks really good if Cat is out, but a little bit worried now based on some of the news that there's a chance Karl-Anthony Towns could play. So I'm just kind of waiting and seeing, and I'm going to leave myself flexibility to make a change, right? So what I'm going to do is, if Cat ends up playing, I'm going to have a 2v2 swap ready. Thoughts on Simons? I think he looks great. Just make sure there's no limitations on him. But yeah, I mean, they're shorthanded. He most likely starts at the point, and he's really cheap in a good matchup. What do you think of Campazzo, Simons, Morris, Nas? You're at 7. Ross. Okay, so a couple guys. Campazzo, I think he's priced about right now, maybe slightly overpriced. I think he plays low 30s minutes. I mean, he was phenomenal last game, but that was 100% an outlier game. And then, let's see. Nas, again, Cat news. Make sure he's out if you're playing Nas. And then you're at 7. Keep behind PJ Tucker news. PJ Tucker might be back. If PJ Tucker's back, a little bit worried about your 7's minutes against a small ball Golden State team. So, few things you got to monitor there. Tyus Jones or Shake? I think it's Shake, assuming he starts. Now, I do think Tyus Jones probably would come in at way less ownership, and I think Tyus Jones still plays some decent minutes here because Memphis, I still don't know who's going to be the 5th starter for Memphis. Harden 10 assists. I mean, he's been getting right around that, so yeah, I don't think there's an edge there in my opinion, right? If you what have been the most recent games for Harden? I mean, I know he's been getting like almost a triple double every single game. It is an up-tempo game. Let's see. So 13, 10, 15, 10, 11. I mean, if you're just looking at the last 5 games, then yeah, probably lean to the over. Last 2 games with KD in, though, 10 and 13. So it's not one that I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to take over Harden 10 assists. All right, guys, any other questions? Appreciate you guys coming check out the live stream as always. Again, we hit over 100 viewers, concurrent viewers. 41 likes. Again, thanks to everyone for leaving questions. Hitting the like button does help me out. Luka against Nuggets, I'm liking. Yeah, just make sure there's no limitations, right? Last game, he was limited. So make sure if you're going to Luka that there's no limitations. Porzingis being out doesn't affect Luka. It actually hurts him a little bit from what we've seen last few years. Everyone always jams in Luka and Porzingis is out, but like it actually really is not much of an upgrade. It's technically a little bit of a downgrade if you just look at the numbers alone. Who do I want to pay up for? What price range? And what are we talking about? I think Jokic probably looks like your safest spend up. Harden's going to look pretty good. Giannis, I do think, is a good contrarian spend up. I think a lot of people are just kind of Xing him out because they're just going to assume that game blows out. But if the Pistons somehow keep being competitive, you could see a massive ceiling game there from Giannis. Again, we talked about the Charlotte-Washington game. I think that game looks very appealing. Reggie Jackson tonight doesn't stand out as price point for me. Would rather go to Morris. I think NAW is a fine value. If Ingram's out, like him a little bit more. I think he plays mid-20s minutes off the bench. So, yeah. LA out. Is that LaMarcus Aldridge? Okay, he was questionable, so small boost probably to Claxton. Outside of Charlotte, Washington, potentially stack. I think Memphis and Brooklyn looks like a good game to stack. And I think Atlanta, Portland looks like a pretty good game to stack. And then Minnesota Clippers as well. There's a few games that I don't mind stacking up here. Jalen Green or Shake? Good question. Probably Shake if both end up starting. Well, Jalen Green's going to start, but if Shake starts, lean there because he's a little bit cheaper. All right, guys, I'll call it on that. So good luck. Enjoy these 10 games. Hopefully we get some big wins. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow for another live stream.